Christmas Eve under red alert. Snow fell gently over Earth's unified capital, softening the sharp edges of towers and battlements that had once been built for war. On Christmas Eve, even a fortress world allowed itself to breathe. Inside a modest residence overlooking the lights of the city, General Maravalin stood barefoot on a warm floor, sleeves rolled up, pretending, successfully, that she was not the most dangerous strategist humanity had ever produced. She was simply a mother tonight. "Careful," she said, smiling despite herself, as her younger son nearly toppled the Christmas tree while hanging a crooked ornament. "That one survived 3 moves across continents. It deserves respect." Her older son snorted. "Everything deserves respect to you, Mom. Even furniture." Mara laughed quietly. The sound was rare. In war rooms, admirals describe her voice as calm, precise, merciless when required. Here it was warm, human. The trees shimmered with lights. Outside, snow dusted the streets. Somewhere far above, orbital defense platforms watched the stars with tireless vigilance. Earth had not lowered its guard, but it had learned how to live beneath it. For 30 years, the Galactic Empire had loomed like a storm that never quite broke. Treaties held, borders stabilized. Humanity endured insults, tariffs, incidents. And Mara Valen had been the one who made sure those incidents never became wars. She had ended conflicts with math instead of massacres, with positioning instead of planetary fire. The galaxy knew her name. Her sons knew her as Mom. She checked the time. 23:58. 2 minutes, she said. Then presents. And I officially pretend I don't know what's in them. That's a lie, her older son said. You know everything. Mara smiled, but the smile flickered. For just a fraction of a second, something old and sharp stirred at the base of her skull. The instinct that had kept her alive through ambushes and betrayals. She dismissed it. 23:59. The lights flickered. Mara's hand stilled. Outside, the snow paused mid-fall, as if reality itself had taken a breath. Then every alarm in the city screamed at once. Red light flooded the room. The windows polarized instantly, turning the peaceful snowfall into a tactical overlay of vectors and threat indicators. Boys behind me. Now, they obeyed without panic. They had grown up around uniforms and protocols. Mara moved before her conscious mind caught up, body interposing itself between her children and the world. A voice boomed from nowhere and everywhere, cold and amplified. By authority of the Galactic Empire, this location is under immediate seizure. No, Mara said softly. You don't have jurisdiction here. The ceiling peeled open, not shattered, peeled as if cut by something that did not care about material science. Black armored figures dropped through the opening, weapons humming with a restrained, disciplined lethality. Imperial black reclaimers. Mara recognized them instantly. Stand down, she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of fleets. I am General Mara Valen of Earth. You are violating. We know who you are, the lead trooper said, visor reflecting the red glow of emergency lights. That is why we are here. They moved with terrifying precision. Not toward her, toward her sons. Mara struck first. She disarmed one trooper, broke another's arm, drove a third into the wall hard enough to crater reinforced stone. But there were too many, and they were not here to kill. Stasis fields bloomed like invisible cages. Her sons froze mid-step, eyes wide, mouths forming her name. Mom! Mara slammed into the field, muscles screaming as it repelled her with contemptuous ease. Take me, she snarled. Take me. I am worth more than. Negative, the trooper replied. Our analysis disagrees. They lifted her sons as if they weighed nothing. Mara felt something tear loose inside her chest. Please, she said. It was the first time the word had ever crossed her lips in battle. They're civilians. They are children. The trooper paused, just long enough to ensure she understood. That is precisely why they are valuable. The room vanished in a wash of blue light as a hyperspace window opened inside her home. Christmas ornaments shattered. Snow blew inward, sucked toward the impossible gravity of the breach. Her sons disappeared. The window closed. Silence fell, broken only by the distant wail of alarms and the soft hum of a Christmas tree still trying to shine. Mara stood alone. Minutes later, Earth's defenses locked down. Fleets scrambled. The unified council convened in emergency session. The Galactic Empire transmitted its message on every channel, translated into 1,000 languages. Human deterrence has proven excessive. Corrective leverage has been acquired. Compliance is expected. Attached was a single clause. Failure to comply will result in asset reclassification. Mara listened without expression. She did not cry. She did not scream. She walked in the war room beneath her ruined home, past officers who would have died for her without hesitation, and stared at a hologram of the galaxy. Christmas lights still glimmered faintly above. "Clear the room," she said. They obeyed. Alone, General Mara Valen placed her hand on the star map and whispered, "Not to the Empire, not to Earth, but to herself. You have no idea what you just started." Christmas Eve ended at midnight. The last war began 1 second later. The line humanity never crossed. The Galactic Council chamber had been built to inspire awe and obedience. It failed at both. General Mara Valen stood at its center, alone beneath a ceiling that simulated 1,000 alien constellations. Around her, representatives of 100 species watched from tiered seats, their faces flickering across holographic translators. Some studied her with curiosity, others with irritation, a few with open disdain. At the highest tier, the Imperial envoy reclined, encased in living armor that pulsed faintly with Imperial gold. "General Valen," the envoy said smoothly, "you were summoned as a courtesy. Your species should recognize the restraint being shown." Mara folded her hands behind her back. Her uniform was immaculate, though the Christmas Eve insignia still hung at her collar, untouched since the night before. "Restraint," she repeated. "You invaded a sovereign world. You abducted 2 human children from their home." "Assets," the envoy corrected. "Your sons are assets." The word echoed through the chamber. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others nodded unbothered. Mara raised her eyes. "Answer one question," she said calmly. "Are my sons classified as combatants?" The envoy hesitated, then smiled. "They are leverage." "So no," Mara replied. "They are civilians. Human concepts," the envoy said dismissively. "The Empire does not share your sentimentality." Mara inclined her head slightly, as if acknowledging a useful data point. Across the chamber, the human delegation sat rigid and pale. They had argued all night. They had pleaded with her to wait, to negotiate, to trust that the law would hold. The law had never been tested like this. "Return them," Mara said. "Immediately. Earth will consider this an isolated incident." Laughter rippled through several tiers. The envoy leaned forward. "General, your species has benefited greatly from our patience. Your fleets grow stronger. Your technologies spread. You win wars without finishing them. This correction will restore balance." Mara's gaze hardened. "You are mistaken about one thing," she said. "We did not win wars because we could not finish them." She turned, gesturing toward the human delegation. "For 3 centuries, humanity has observed one rule without exception. We do not target children. Not ours. Not yours. Not even those of our enemies." The envoy's eyes narrowed. "A weakness. A boundary," Mara corrected. "And you crossed it." The chamber fell quiet. A senior human counselor stood. "General Valen," he said urgently, "we are still pursuing diplomatic." Mara raised a hand. He stopped mid-sentence. She faced the council once more. "I am hereby submitting my resignation as Supreme Commander of Earth's unified forces." Gasps rippled through the chamber. The envoy smiled broadly. "Wise. Perhaps now your people will be more manageable." Mara tapped the control on her wrist. Across human space, ancient systems awoke. "Resignation accepted," she continued evenly. "Which means I'm no longer bound by the constraints of office." The human counselor's eyes went wide. "Mara, what did you just—" "Protocol Ash Mother," Mara said. The words hit the chamber like a physical blow. Even the envoy stiffened. "That protocol," the envoy said carefully, "was theoretical." Mara's lips twitched. So were black holes as weapons. So is faster-than-light travel. Humans have a habit of preparing for the things we pray never happen. She gestured again. This time, the stars themselves seemed to shift. Protocol Ash Mother was ratified by this very council, she said. It states that if a non-human power weaponizes human offspring, humanity is released from all wartime limitations previously agreed upon. Murmurs erupted. Translators struggled to keep up. You signed it, Mara continued. You laughed about it. You assumed no species would be foolish enough to trigger it. Her gaze locked on the Imperial envoy. You assumed wrong. The envoy rose, armor flaring. General. Not General, Mara said softly. Not anymore. Across the galaxy, human fleets that had not moved in decades powered up. Weapons long hidden behind legal language and humanitarian clauses unlocked. Artificial intelligences, kept dormant out of ethical restraint, came fully online. Mara turned away from the council. Earth will not negotiate under duress, she said. Earth will not ransom its children. She paused at the threshold. You wanted leverage, she added. You just gave us purpose. Back on Earth, in a war chamber deep beneath the capital, officers watched the data cascade across their displays. They knew what was happening. They did not cheer. They simply stood straighter. Mara entered alone, the room sealed behind her. Before her, the galactic map glowed, Imperial space marked in cold, arrogant gold. She removed the Christmas insignia from her collar and placed it beside a small, framed photo. Two smiling boys in winter sweaters, arms around each other. Her hands did not shake. I am coming, she said to the stars. Far away, inside an Imperial holding facility, two human children looked up as the lights flickered for the first time. And across the galaxy, 1,000 civilizations felt it, the moment humanity stopped asking permission. When humanity stopped holding back. The first human strike did not announce itself with declarations or ultimatums. It arrived as silence. Imperial sensors across the Kairos corridor reported nothing unusual. No fleet massing, no hyperspace signatures, no warning spikes. Then gravity inverted inside 3 shipyards simultaneously, folding cruisers into themselves as if reality had decided they were unnecessary. By the time alarms activated, the shipyards were gone. Not destroyed, removed. Across the Empire, similar reports flooded command channels. Power grids collapsed without explosions. Defense platforms lost cohesion and drifted apart molecule by molecule. Command AIs froze, trapped in logical dead, as they had never been designed to escape. Humanity had not brought bigger guns. It had brought better questions. In the command carrier Resolute, Mara Valen stood at the center of a living hologram. She wore no insignia, no rank markings, only a plain black uniform. The fleet did not need reminders of who she was. Advance, she said. Hundreds of human vessels slipped from folds in space-time that Imperial science still insisted were impossible. They did not form neat battle lines. They spread like a net being drawn tight. Imperial admirals screamed for countermeasures. Fleets scrambled. Ancient doctrines collapsed in the face of weapons that did not behave like weapons at all. A human tactical officer glanced at his display. Primary objectives neutralized. Civilian sinners untouched. Mara nodded once. Continue. This was not revenge. This was inevitability. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Species that had feared humanity's growing strength now understood the truth. Humans had been restraining themselves not out of weakness, but out of terror of what they might become if they ever stopped. Imperial propaganda channels activated at last. The screen filled with the Emperor's sigil, and then with 2 frightened human faces. Mara's sons. They stood in a sterile chamber, stasis collars dim but visible. The older boy held the younger's hand. Both tried to be brave. The broadcast cut to the Emperor himself. Human commander, he intoned, observe the consequences of defiance. Several human officers looked away. Mara did not. Her voice, when she spoke, was steady. They are alive. Yes, the Emperor said. For now, stand down your fleets. Mara leaned forward, placing both palms on the holographic display. Stars shimmered beneath her hands. "You misunderstand," she said. "You did not just show me hostages." The Emperor frowned. "You showed every human why this war ends only one way." Across human space, something shifted. Recruitment centers overflowed, not with anger, but with grim resolve. Shipyards ran without pause. Civilian scientists handed over projects once deemed too dangerous to finish. The Empire escalated. They struck human colonies. Civilian transports vanished. A hospital moon burned. Mara watched the casualty list scroll past her without blinking. "Authorize Phase 2, she said. Human fleets changed posture. Stars began to die. Not explode, die. Fusion was interrupted at the core. Stellar reactions choked into stillness. Entire systems went dark, their planets left drifting in frozen night. Worlds the Empire had planned to colonize, exploit, rule for millennia, erased from the future. An alien historian on a neutral world whispered as she watched the data feed. "They are not killing us. They are making sure we never exist." Imperial morale collapsed. Fleets surrendered mid-battle, their crews broadcasting unconditional capitulation. Others fought desperately, only to find human vessels ignoring them, slipping past to strike something far more valuable. Infrastructure, logistics, hope. A captured Imperial admiral sat in silence as a human officer explained the strategy. "You could still win battles," the human said calmly, "but you can no longer win time." The admiral understood then. Humanity was not rushing. It was patient, methodical. It was ending the Empire the way humans ended plagues, by starving them of hosts. Mara stood alone later, staring at the paused broadcast frame of her sons. An aide approached carefully. "Ma'am, we've confirmed their location. Imperial inner ring. Heavily shielded." Mara nodded. "Prepare a retrieval plan. Fleet assault." "No." She straightened. "I will go." The aide hesitated. "It's too dangerous." Mara finally looked at him. For the first time, the mask cracked. "They took my children on Christmas Eve," she said quietly. "There's no place in the galaxy more dangerous than where I am already standing." Outside the Resolute, human fleets advanced inexorably. The Imperial capital world burned in the distance, its orbit clogged with debris and surrender beacons. 10,000 years of dominance unraveled in weeks. And at the center of it all, a human mother prepared to end a war not with annihilation, but with retrieval. The Empire had wanted leverage. It had instead taught humanity how to stop holding back. The last war ends. The Imperial inner ring had never been breached. Its defenses were layered in arrogance. Ancient shields calibrated against weapons no longer used, fleets arranged according to doctrines that had not faced a real challenger in millennia. The Empire believed time itself was on its side. Mara Valen arrived alone. Her ship did not announce itself. It slid between sensor sweeps, folded through blind spots, calculated by human minds that no longer asked permission from physics. By the time the inner ring realized something was wrong, she was already inside. She moved through the holding facility like a ghost. Imperial soldiers fell without alarms, without screams. Stasis fields collapsed at her touch as human override codes, older than the Empire's current dynasty, rewrote systems that had never imagined resistance from a single person. At the final chamber, she stopped. 2 life signs. Her sons. The door dissolved. They looked up as she stepped through the haze of disabled fields and flickering lights. For the first time since Christmas Eve, Mara ran. "Mom!" They hit her at full force. She dropped to her knees, arms wrapping around them so tightly she feared breaking them. Then loosened, hands trembling as she checked faces, pulses, breathing. "You're here," the younger whispered, disbelief and relief tangled together. "I told you I was coming," she said, voice breaking despite herself. Behind them, a slow, deliberate clap echoed. The Emperor emerged from the shadows, tall and robed in living gold, his expression measured rather than fearful. "You have undone an empire," he said. "For 2 children." Mara stood, placing herself between him and her sons. Her voice was quiet. "No," she said. I undid an empire because it forgot what lines are for. The emperor spread his hands. You could have ruled. Humanity could rule. Instead, you burn everything. I didn't burn it, Mara replied. I ended it. Outside the station, Imperial command feeds fell silent one by one. Fleets powered down. Thrones were abandoned. Titles lost meaning in the vacuum of surrender. The Emperor's voice softened. Spare us. We will remember this lesson. Mara considered him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. You will not remember, she said. That's the problem. She did not kill him. She did something worse. With a single command, Imperial identity matrices, legal, historical, bureaucratic, collapsed. The Emperor's name vanished from records. Dynasties dissolved into anonymous data. The Empire was not conquered. It was forgotten. Mara turned away. The extraction was swift. Human stealth carriers slipped in, retrieved her and the children, and vanished before anyone could process what had happened. Across the galaxy, a single transmission went out on every channel, in every language. Humanity does not seek dominion. Humanity seeks its children. Never take them again. Then the human fleets withdrew. No occupation, no tribute, no flag planted over alien worlds. Only silence and memory. Months later, snow fell again over Earth's unified capital. A Christmas tree stood in the same room, repaired but unchanged. Lights glowed softly. Ornaments gleamed. Mara sat on the floor, helping her sons place a star at the top. Do you think they're still afraid of you? The older asked. Mara paused, then smiled faintly. I hope they're afraid of what they made us do. Outside, the stars shone quietly. The galaxy would rebuild. New powers would rise. Treaties would be signed with careful clauses and careful words. But one rule would never be debated again. Humanity did not start the last war, but ended all others.